Well, good morning, everybody. Hope you're all well. It is Monday morning, and there's actually like semi-blue sky out. You know what I mean? It's not like this. You know what I mean? It's not like that, but it's sort of semi-blue, mainly white. But yeah, it could be a good day. Unless you're in Australia, as Brandhall, and I don't know, maybe it's nighttime there. We are doing the morning show. Lots to speak about. Guys, make sure you drop a like on the stream if you've not done so already. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. And of course, go check out Nobbin's channel. Link is in the title and help him towards 10K. We won, bro.
Wait,
Can you believe it? We're back with a win.
the
And
crisis is over.
yeah, the crisis is over. I mean, it was a short-lived crisis, but according to some, a crisis nonetheless. Let's get straight into it. What did you make of the game?
I was really happy with the game, to be honest. It was. I think it's a must-win anyway because we are Man City and we probably should be looking to win most of our games anyway, especially at home. But especially in the context of which everyone was talking about, losing 3 domestic games on the bounce. It was obviously really important after the Arsenal loss, and the first half especially, I thought we were back to pre-suspension Rodri. To be fair, it was like one of the best first halves I've seen this season.
Yeah.
Also, take into account the opposition, like Brighton are no joke because they're a very, very impressive side. In fact, last season they had more of the ball than those, so they are a very, very decent side. Obviously, finished 6th last season. And Pep said himself, in the post-match interviews, that there's no way you can control Brighton for 90 minutes. And I thought we did it for at least 75 minutes, to be fair, up until the goal. And then obviously Brighton came more into it. But yeah, first half, fantastic. No complaints. Can't really remember us conceding a genuine chance. Fantastic work by Doku in the build to Alvarez's goal. Haaland with a brilliant, 21-yard tap in. We love to see those. And Foden was fantastic. Up there with like his Newcastle performance for me this season. He was brilliant. Deployed on the right this time. He was running the show. And yes, just some really good individual performances. I think Gvardiol may be the standout player. Overall, he was just awesome defensively going forwards as well. And not too. I know we conceded the goal. I know Akanji got sent off, but not too many issues for me, to be fair.
Yeah, I almost forgot about Akanji being sent off, to be honest with you, bro. Darcy, member for 2 months, says first half was excellent, should have scored more. Second was a summary of our season so far, which I agree with, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
in
fair.
fact, I think if you look at the stats from this game, sometimes stats don't really tell you the story of the game. But if you look at the stats from the match, and we can break it down to first half and second half. And in fact, let's do that. I mean, you look at the first half, look at that. I mean, expected goals. I mean, we didn't have too much expected goals, but Brighton, when we kept them very, very quiet, 0.05 expected goals, ball possession thoroughly there in favour of Manchester City on the left-hand side with 63% ball possession, 5 shots to 1 there as well. So obviously, like you can see with the ball possession, you can see with the lack of chances created from Brighton that we was in control of the game. Still potentially question marks about creativity being a bit of an issue in terms of obviously the type of chances we're creating. But I think from the eye test, everyone watched the game, everyone would probably agree that first half was much better. And as you said, bro, it almost looked like City of old. Second half was a different story. You look at the second half stats. Brighton came much more into the game, had more ball possession than Manchester City in that second half. They created more chances and better chances through the expected goals, as you can see there as well. City still creating shooting opportunities, still getting 5, and Brighton upping from 1 shot in the first half to 4 in the second half. What do you think was what happened in the second half? Do you think it was a case of because City were we 2-0 up at that point?
Yeah.
So do you think maybe City just took the foot off the gas, maybe got a little bit naive and thought, oh, Man City are back, we can take our foot off the gas, thinking actually probably we're not quite at that level? Or do you actually think we need to give some credit to Brighton, which I'm thinking maybe we do, because I thought in the second half they come out basically. I thought in the first half they did all right on the ball. They kept the ball well, but they didn't really have any intent. And I said this during the live watch along with like, they were just passing the ball around for passing's sake, and they didn't really have like a plan. Whereas in the second half, it looked like they had more of an idea of how to score a goal. So where do you think the balance is there?
Yeah, so I think that if we're being like really specific, I think it was actually probably the second half of the second half, to be fair. I think sort of like the first, from like sort of like minute 45 to 65-ish, I thought that we played in a similar manner. To be fair, we kept Brighton at bay. We actually had a couple more chances to score. Like I think of that Foden clip to Haaland, who cuts inside, and maybe he should do a bit better. We definitely could have killed the game earlier on. And I think a lot of it is down to the fact that Brighton are a good team, and game state is also a thing as well. Like, Brighton were 2 goals down. They had to come out and had to come on to us and try to score a goal. So there was a little bit of that as well. So it was definitely a change in mentality from Brighton and changing in the way in how they played, because obviously they couldn't play like that. It's 0-0. They're 2-0 down now. So they obviously had to come out a little bit more. But even then, like, you could even say that their goal, it came from a counter-attack, and maybe it came from a counter-attack where we should have scored. Like, Alvarez chose to, I believe that the goalkeeper was, Steele was off his line, Alvarez had a shot. Maybe the better option was to play it to Haaland, who was in a slightly better position than Alvarez, and then, Haaland's already scored one outside the box. Maybe that was the better play to do, and then Walker gets beaten by Matoma. But even after the goal, like, obviously Brighton are the ones, trying to push for the goal. But after we conceded, I can't really think of that many clear-cut chances that Brighton created. I don't think I can think of one, to be honest, because our defence was quite solid. So I think it's a mix of both, to be honest. City, whether subconsciously or not, they did take their foot off the gas. They did, most of the good work in the first half. Should have killed the game off in the first half. And then Brighton had to come into it. And again, this is a very good side that we're playing. These are no jokers. They finished 6th last season. They're a very impressive team. So it's a bit of both for me. You can't have everything. As Pep said, you can't control this Brighton side for 90 minutes. I think we did it for like 70. I'm more than happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, if we take a little bit, we spoke a bit about the second half there. If we focus a little bit more on that first half, it did look to me like that was the Manchester City of old. And clearly, I still think there are issues. If you look at the stats, we still didn't really create too much, which has been a problem recently. But the way we move the ball, the way we transition the ball, John Stones going back into midfield, I mean, I think that has been something that even myself, probably not spoke about enough this year, that we have missed John Stones going back into that midfield, because it gives freedom for another midfielder to push forward and be another sort of body in an attacking outlet. And I was actually quite surprised. I don't know what you thought. I was actually quite surprised at how good John Stones played. Not because I don't think John Stones is good, because I thought it might take him a couple of matches to get back into it. If you remember the game that he come on against Arsenal, he looked really rusty, like really, really rusty. Like the body movement and everything looked like guy needed some WD-40, man. But against Brighton at the weekend, I thought he looked like just like John Stones of old, and there might have been one or two things, but yeah, he looked really good. How much do you think that him coming back into the team, especially with Rodri now as well, can that really kick us on? I mean, we've got a really tough test coming up.
Yeah, it's massive. I do think that, I know there was a lot of talk about, I don't want him playing for England. I actually think those minutes against Italy for England were probably quite useful, to be fair, because as you mentioned, he was rusty against Arsenal. Even against Italy, he wasn't like fully switched on. But so I think that now, with those minutes for England, he's now back to it. And that is huge. He was, I mean, there were moments in that game where I was like watching it, and I just like thought it was like Foden on the ball at times. He was like dribbling with like such ease, and like the positions, like how high he's receiving the ball. You forget he's a centre half. Like that's just how fantastic his on ball ability is. And yeah, it is massive that he's back, especially with Rodri. To recreate that Rodri Stones pivot, which was a huge element of our treble winning season. It's been missing this whole season. And now if Stones can keep fit, if Rodri can keep fit and not suspended, that is genuinely huge, because that's an unbelievable defensive base to like build upon when you have the ball. So yeah, it is massive. And as you say, maybe it's because he didn't play a Premier League game for us until like the Arsenal game. People have sort of like forgotten about him maybe. And yeah, but he was instrumental in all our successes of last season. That is huge, and it, as you say, it gives us more defensive security, gives us more on-ball quality, because he is that good. And even defensively, I think that from a defensive standpoint, off the ball, he's one of our better defenders as well. So it means that hopefully, as much as I like Akanji, maybe we'll talk about him later, I wouldn't start him in my starting 11. I do think he's a squad player.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that. I mean, let's speak about Akanji, because you brought it up, and Reese in the chat has mentioned it as well. I'm going to say, first of all, that I think he was a little bit unlucky with their goal. I know people like to jump on him, and he is he is probably a bit of a scapegoat. And it's funny because people think I've got an agenda against him, but I actually defend him quite a lot. I think it was a little bit unfortunate. It was a little bit flat-footed maybe for their goal. And then what's happened is obviously he's got, I think Ferguson, I think, is behind him. And he's trying to stop the ball from going to Ferguson. And by doing that, he's put his left leg out to stop the ball. And it's just unfortunate that the ball has hit his foot. He's stopped the ball going to Ferguson, which is his intended sort of action. And then the ball's just bounced off his foot and gone straight to, who was it? Ansu Fati, I think, who scored the goal. So I think he was a little bit unlucky on the first goal. Could he have done better? Yeah, of course he could have. I think he needs to be on his toes a little bit more there. I think he got caught a little bit flat-footed, a bit off guard, and that's why it happened. But I think he's a little bit unlucky. The first yellow card, at the time, I didn't think there was any issue. I've seen the yellow card back, and I don't even know, is there any contact on that first yellow card? Actually, have you seen it back?
I didn't see it back. Now, in real time, I did think it was a yellow, to be fair.
Yeah, no, exactly. So did I. I thought it was a yellow card in real time. But if you watch it back, maybe someone in the chat can confirm. I don't actually know if he makes any contact at all. So maybe someone in the chat can confirm that, because the replay I see didn't look like he made contact. The second yellow, listen, I think this is going to split opinion on this, because for me, I don't really have too much sympathy.
I think it's a yellow.
Yeah, no, I do as well. I don't have too much sympathy with him. You know, he's gone in, he's rushed in, which he doesn't really actually need to do. You know what I mean? If you look at the area of the pitch that he's in, does he really need to sprint in there? And I don't know what he's trying to do. Is he trying to nick the ball, intercept it in front of the... Does he really need to do that? I mean, it's late on in the game. Probably not. And obviously the guy's spun him, and it's soft. Yeah, the guy's gone down soft. But at the end of the day, he's spun him, and he's effectively pulled him back. Yes, it's soft. I get that. I know Reese in the chat thinks it's a soft one, but I do probably think it is a yellow card. The frustrating thing for me was the first yellow card. I don't actually think there's any contact. And if you watch the Liverpool versus Everton game earlier in the day, Kanate has done exactly the same thing. He was on a yellow card. He's done exactly the same thing. Actually, it's worse than Akanji.
It's much worse.
Because he was the second to last defender. So if that defender gets round, that defender's got a one-on-one opportunity with the defender, get past the defender who's doing a goal. Whereas Akanji was like all the way basically in their half. Like there was no real danger coming from that. And the referee in that one bottled it, didn't give the second yellow. And you know he made a big mistake, the referee, because instantly Jurgen Klopp took off Konate and put on Matip, which tells you everything that you need to know. So the inconsistencies there is a little bit frustrating for me. However, to be honest with you, I know some people will disagree, and that's fine. I think the second yellow was correct. Soft, but probably the correct decision. The first one, I probably need to watch it a few more times, but for me, it looks like it was. It looks like he didn't make contact. But I don't think he would have played. He's only a one-match ban. I don't think he would have played against United anyway. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying before, that if everyone is fully fit, as much as I like Akanji as fantastic as he was last season, I don't think that if everyone is fit and like Pep goes into a massive game, I don't think Pep starts Akanji. I think he goes Gvardiol, Diaz, Stones, Walker. I think that's the back four. Akanji is a fantastic player to have, a brilliant squad player, and he's really versatile. Like we saw him play left back last season. He can play right back. He can play, in the center of the back three, on the right of the back three, whatever. He's very versatile. But at the end of the day, I'm of the view that we signed him originally to be a squad player. And I think that maybe even Pep was taken aback by how well he performed last season. I don't think he was brought in to, compete with the likes of Diaz and Stones. And maybe that's why people try to scapegoat him, because as good as he is, compared to our other defenders, as I say, like Diaz, like Stones, like Gvardiol, he's not a superstar, is he? He's steady, he's decent, but he's not unbelievable. So I think maybe that's why he's scapegoated, because if you look at all the other players on the pitch, he's the one that sort of sticks out in terms of, is he a Man City starter sort of thing? But I like Akanji. I like having him around. He's a good player.
I do as well. And I think he's a good player. And listen, my position on this is very clear. I think there's better centre-backs in the world than Akanji. I think there's better centre-backs at City than Akanji. However, Akanji does a very good job. He very rarely actually makes mistakes. Right? People say, he has made this mistake. I'm not saying he's not made mistakes. I'm saying he very rarely makes mistakes. He's good on the ball. He's decent on the ball. Probably, I'd put him ahead of Diaz on the ball. I put him ahead of Ake on the ball. So he's only behind John Stones and Gvardiol on the ball. And that's why probably he plays so much. He's quick. He's strong. You know what I mean? I think people give him a little bit too much shit. I think people need to realise that he isn't a Gvardiol. He's not a Diaz. He's not a Stones. He's below that, but he's a very, very good footballer. But yeah, Victor, bro, that is some rent-free salt situation. If I've ever seen rent-free, you know, I mean, a dictionary defined Victor there, man. That is speaking about 2021, bro. Let it go, man. Let it go, bro. Right, a player that I need to speak about, mention him there for a second. Josko Gvardiol. Let's just go quickly through his stats and then we can rave about him. So that's his heat map, obviously, on the left-hand side. Does come in field a little bit the further he gets up the pitch, probably to leave a little bit of room for Doku to operate. Because, of course, if he goes all the way up here, where the cursor is, he's going to clash with Doku. We'll probably speak about in a minute. 2 clearances, 4 interceptions. He won all of his ground duels and didn't win his only aerial duel. Great passing accuracy at 90% as well there. Also had not the worst shot on target in the world. Hit the target and also had a couple dribbles. I don't know about you, bro. I've been saying this now for a week or two, and I want to get your take. I don't know if I've already said this with you, so I might have already said it. But I actually already think that Gvardiol looks like a bargain. And I know people could laugh at that because we spent 77 million quid. It's not like Akanji where we got him for 15. But I'm looking at Gvardiol and I'm thinking to myself, 1, he doesn't need that 3-year pass. He's already in the team and he already looks mint. 2, he's mega young. He could be here for the next decade. And he already looks like one of the best defenders in world football. I just think, generally, City and Siki have pulled off an absolute masterclass in getting this guy for 77 million. And I've got to give credit where credit's due, because I remember all summer long, and maybe even all last season, I said, you're not going to get Gvardiol for less than 80 million. Because for the last 2 years, Leipzig have been saying 80 million or he's not going. And I said, if you bid anything less than that, you're stupid. And I know he'd saved 3 million quid, right? But he got him for less than 80 million. Honestly, I think this guy is a brilliant, brilliant footballer. And he's going under the radar. No one's speaking about it other than City fans.
Yeah, which I don't really understand. Yeah, there was like a graphic of, these are like these signings hit the ground running. I was like, well, where's Josko? Where's Gvardiol at? Because he has been unbelievable. Yeah, I agree with you that it might sound stupid to say, a near world record fee for a defender. That's not a bargain by definition, but it sort of is, because you got to think about the context. He's only 21. In theory, we could have him for 10 years, at least. And he's playing like he's this like 28-year-old vastly experienced player, and he comes in.
Yeah.
And as much as I love Ake, I think that he's one of the only players that we could have got who directly improves that position. To be fair, like he can do what Ake does and more. It seems he's just. I don't think he's really had that. I don't think he's had a bad performance yet so far. Like in terms of like bad instances, he was like nutmegged for West Ham's goal. But even then, that was probably Akanji's fault at the back post. But apart from that, he's been just unbelievable. And yeah, he's just been steady. I'd maybe like to see maybe a bit more offensive contribution for him. Maybe with his, he gets into good positions with his crosses. So maybe I'd like to see an improvement there. But apart from that, he has been
let me pull you up on that. What exactly are you looking for him to do when he gets further forward? What, put more crosses in, balls in behind?
So it's not even putting more crosses, and I guess it's just being more precise with his crosses. So for example, in the Arsenal game, he had a couple of chances where Haaland was in a decent area in the box.
Right, I hear you.
And he put the cross in. He got in the right area, just maybe a bit more accurate with those. I know it's hard for expecting a centre half to do all this, but I demand a lot from my defenders. I'm being really, really picky with how to improve him, because
that's what you have to do. Brilliant. You have to do that. You have to do that, and if you want to be the best player, you have to be, as a player, nitpicky about where you improve. Look at Haaland last year, scored 50 goals. He could have just, he was asked, how do you improve on that? He could have just said, sure, man, I'm not improving on 50 goals. No, but he's like, no, I need to improve on this. I need to improve on that. I need to improve on that. And when you're young, especially, and you're still developing, you're still learning and getting better and better, I 100% agree. The one thing that I would say about, I'm surprised at, and this isn't due to him, this is more sort of a Pep sort of situation, is that we've not really seen him in a central area. Now, we've seen him go in there a few times, and in fact, against Brighton, he did wander into the centre position with Rodri and that, but he was only there for like a minute or whatever, and then he got off, and he's not doing like a John Stones. Do you think that maybe this season, maybe next, or in the future, we might see Gvardiol step into that midfield, because to me, looks like he has all the attributes necessary to play that role. And obviously, with John Stones being injured for since the start of the season, are you a little bit surprised as well that Pep hasn't put Gvardiol in there to throw it? Or do you think he just likes him on that left-hand side?
Yeah, I think that it might be a combination of things. It might be the fact that it is his first season, and as good as he has been, maybe he doesn't want to just throw him in at the deep end and go, right, mate, you're doing the John Stones role, go have fun. So, even though I agree with you, I definitely think Gvardiol can do that role because he's got the ball playing attributes and the intelligence to do that. I just think that maybe he's thinking long term. I know Stones was out, and like Akanji sometimes played that role. That was obviously a bit of a stopgap solution. I'm thinking that maybe Pep's thinking that long term he just wants Gvardiol to lock down that left centre half, left back slot, because that is where his best attributes can be utilised. And the end goal was always for Stones to come back and to play that role. But I can definitely see going forwards, maybe next season or whatever, if Stones isn't available and Ake's fit, so Ake can play the Gvardiol position, and then Gvardiol steps into that midfield, because he's 100% got the attributes and the intelligence and the skill set to do it. He is that good. As I say, maybe it's just a case of too much too soon. He doesn't want to throw him in as a new signing straight away.
Yeah, no. I agree. I think I think Gvardiol is one of the most exciting stories we've got at this football club. I remember I said this the other day. I remember when we signed him, and basically a load of like German press, like journalists and like scouts. There was like some sort of report, and they basically said City have just signed potentially the best centre back in the world in like 2-3 years' time. Like everyone raves about him. He's a fantastic player, super exciting.
Yeah,
another player that's super exciting, bro, is this guy Jeremy Doku. That's his heat map from the game. 75 minutes played, got the assist, brilliant assist. 1 shot on target, 2 shots off target. 6 dribble attempts, 5 successful, decent passing accuracy as well. 1 big chance created, 2 key passes, and also decent on the defensive work there as well, with 8 out of 10 ground duels won. Now, listen, I said after the Arsenal game, I said I need Doku to play every single game now until Kevin De Bruyne gets back, right? And the reason that is because we don't create. And we need players in this team that can score goals and that can create goals. And as much as I like Jack Grealish just doesn't score or create enough when the team is not scoring and not at its best. Jeremy Doku come in, and against Brighton, especially in that sort of first half, sort of dipped a little bit in the second half, but so did everybody. He was absolutely electric. If it was me, if I was Pep, I would have just told everyone, keep getting the ball in, because he was ruining James Milner so much so that he got subbed off. I mean, Doku, mate, is he now getting into that sort of undroppable position, a little bit like Alvarez? Because for me, I don't see how you can take him out of the team. He's the one that looks like he's going to create.
Yeah, he was fantastic. I think that was obviously a very specific move by Pep to. I think that's the first time he started on the left. I think normally Doku starts on the right, and then maybe he Pep switches him over to the left like partway through the game. But clearly Pep identified that James Milner is a massive weakness in that team. I don't know how old Milner is. Is he 36 or something like that? It was a few years ago at Anfield when Foden destroyed James Milner, nearly retired him. So what's Doku going to do, who's like a better dribbler and is obviously quicker? So it was obviously like a very direct, we are going to stick Doku on Milner and just tear him apart. And City's attacks in that first half in particular, basically everything good came down that left-hand side because it was just too easy for Doku, to be fair. As I say, Milner... is past as great as Milner is as a professional. He's past it. He's not a right back either. So it was just a really obvious one. And I think for those instances, absolutely, Doku must play. If there's a defensively suspect left back, I'd pop him on the right as well because just to target those and do those individual 1v1 duels. And he's already a great player. And I just think if he can just add a bit more end product, that he probably should have scored 2 goals in that first half. When he gets into these really good positions, where he cuts inside and he shot, and both times they went just wide or just over.
He should have done better there, though.
Yes,
I think he'll be
exactly.
really, really disappointed with them because I actually think someone like him cutting in off that left-hand side, I mean, it's a typical RB button on FIFA, you know what I mean? Just cut inside, finesse shot into the corner, it usually goes in. I actually think he'll be really disappointed with that. He probably should have had a goal from at least, and I think actually maybe not a goal, but the fact he missed the target both occasions,
Mm.
I think he'd be really disappointed with.
Yeah, definitely. I think, look, it's high standards to reach, but if that's someone like, Salah or Mahrez cutting him from the right, doing that same thing, that's a goal, for example. I know it's high standards to reach, but these are the players you got to compare yourself to. But if he can add that to his game of being a genuine goal threat when he cuts inside like that and hits it first time, then it's almost I don't actually know how you stop him as a defender, because you can't allow him to go past you on the outside because he'll cross the ball, and as we saw for the goal that Alvarez scored, but you can't allow him to cut inside and shoot because he'll score. So it's if he can just add that to his bow, then he will become like top 3 wingers in the world. He will be that good.
Jeez, yeah.
I don't care. I mean, like he's got the attributes and the skill set and the physical profile to be that guy, but it's a big ask. But if he can add that, he will be that guy.
Have you bought Doku stonks?
I'm all in on this.
You're all in. They say diversify. You never know, guy could get an injury, man, and then boom. You know what I mean?
No. But look, it's a big if. But if it happens, I'm really convinced that Pep can mold him into that guy. I'm really convinced of that.
Yeah, well, look at these. Look at his comments just coming out. He says, "I'm enjoying every day that I'm here. Every day I wake up and go to a training ground, I'm happy because I'm playing and performing in this big team. It's a dream come true." Yeah, Jeremy Doku, absolutely loving life at Manchester City, and he's I think he's causing a little bit of an issue for Grealish, because I don't see how Grealish gets back into this team at this moment in time. Because I think that, for me, you've just got to keep playing Doku. Now, the only way, obviously, you mentioned maybe Doku will go back out onto that right-hand side, potentially. But for games that you need to create chances, I think you just got to go for Doku. Before we wrap up, because it's only a quick stream today, I've got to dip off. I want to just quickly talk about our schedule, because the next month, I mean, if you've got a dodgy heart, maybe you're on heart medication, statins or whatever they're fucking called, you want to maybe miss this month, because it's a big one. Now, starting off with Young Boys on Wednesday. Now, this obviously on paper, and if you look at it, looks like it's not that big of a deal. This is a huge game, because Manchester City win this game, we're on 9 points. The return leg at the Etihad, Young Boys, we should be winning that. That takes us to 12. This game pretty much guarantees that we qualify.
Yeah.
And that allows, like I say, that match day 4 game, which you can just see here at the bottom of the screen, which is just before Chelsea, 5 days before, just after Bournemouth. You win that, then it's you top the group. Match day 5, match day 6. I mean, it's the same every year. We're in pretty much the same situation most years. You win those games, match day 5, match day 6. You can, if you want to, obviously people have different ideas. Some people like to keep the momentum, or if you want, you can rest players, maybe get Calvin Phillips some games, etc., etc. Then obviously the big game at the weekend, Manchester United away from home. This is a huge game. We've got to win. Arsenal are playing Sheffield United, so they're going to win that game. But this is why it's even more important. If we beat Manchester United, right? Arsenal are likely to beat Sheffield United. The week after this one, when we play Bournemouth, Arsenal travel to Newcastle and play Newcastle away. So if we can beat Man United, right, Arsenal beat Sheffield United, there's a decent chance, not guaranteed, obviously, Arsenal can beat Newcastle, but there's a decent chance that if we win our game there against Bournemouth, we could potentially go clear of Arsenal by a couple of points, which obviously would be good stuff. You've obviously got match day for the Champions League there, then Chelsea, then Liverpool. Hopefully this Leipzig game is not important at that point. That would be nice if we can kill that off. And then obviously we got Tottenham and Villa to finish off what I'd class as the sort of hard sort of phase. So how do you see this sort of next 2 months going? Are you setting any sort of targets? Does it take one game at a time? Like, what's your sort of thought process on this next couple of months?
Yeah, I just had a look at the dates then as well. With the Spurs game, and it's on the 3rd, and then is it 2 days after we play Villa away? That's mad. So there's only a 2-day gap in between the Spurs and the Villa game. 3rd of December, then the 5th of December. Yeah.
What the fuck? That can't be right.
So I mean, I don't.
Oh, maybe one day. You can't have 1 day rest.
Sunday, Tuesday, maybe. I don't know.
You can't have 1 day rest.
Oh, well, that's what it says there. So I don't know, but I'm just looking at that. That's my immediate concern, that there's not much of a gap in between those two. If anyone in the chat wants to confirm whether that's correct or not. I think that just because up until that point there are some nice fixtures in between the tricky fixtures. So, for example, yes, we play the Manchester derby away, but we have a fixture against Young Boys. Yes, we play Liverpool at home and Chelsea away, but there's a Bournemouth game in between or before. So it's going to be hard, yeah. But I think that they're trying to move it. Okay, that's interesting. Look, we again, it's all shoulds, but we should beat United away. It won't be easy, but we should beat them, especially with all their issues. Chelsea away, I think, is going to be really hard. I actually wouldn't be surprised if that's the trickiest fixture there, because they've demonstrated at home, look, Liverpool couldn't win there and Arsenal couldn't win there. That is not going to be an easy game. But I know it's a hard fixture list, but it is still quite early in the season. I'd rather have this now than than sort of the last 8 games of the season. Oh, you muted, mate. I can't hear you.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, no, I agree. I think for me as well, I just like, so long as you don't fall away, because like I think you can't win the league, right? In August, September, October, November, December, right? You can't win the league there, but you can lose it, right?
Yes.
You can fall too far away. So long as you don't need to be top of the league, like if last year didn't prove to everyone that you don't need to be top of the league all year, then come on, man, wake up. Like, Arsenal were top of the league for the most time ever from a Premier League side and didn't win it. We just need to make sure we don't fall away. I've got a question for you, but before I do, Brandon Holt sent a member chat in and says, who do you both see as our main title rival this season, Arsenal or Liverpool, maybe somebody else? Well, I flip-flopped a lot on this. I accept that I flip-flopped a lot, but I'm going to go Arsenal. I just feel that they're more of a team than Liverpool. I thought that the time when I was saying Liverpool was probably before the season started, and they signed Szoboszlai, they signed McAllister, but when they didn't get a DM, my sort of confidence levels in Liverpool sort of dropped a little bit. And even though their attack is phenomenal, and it's one of the best in Europe, the lack of a DM, and actually they've got defensive issues. I think obviously Robertson's now out for 3 months. I don't think people are speaking enough about Van Dijk. I don't think his levels are at the same level. Still a good player, and I don't think it's a major issue. And Trent still just can't defend, as proven this year already. So I just don't think their defense is good enough to win a title. But I do think they'll finish third. But I think Arsenal. You agree?
I agree. Yeah, Liverpool third. I think next season with a proper, like a 6 for the long term, probably another centre back, maybe another option at full back. I think then they will be a terrifying title challenger, but that's not until next season, and they've also got to have a good transfer window first. I think this season's a bit too soon for them.
I agree. And anyone asking about Spurs, I just don't think they've got the squad for it. They lose.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say they lose Son in January for the Asian Cup. I don't know how many games he's going to miss. And I think they're heavily too reliant on James Maddison and Basuma. So, we'll see how they get on. Final question before we wrap up.
Sure.
Kevin De Bruyne, in the summer, someone decided that he wasn't going to get the surgery. It was meant to come back at the end of August, sometime in September. Good news was he come back early. Bad news was he clearly wasn't fully recovered because his hamstring popped again after 20 minutes at Burnley. He was meant to be coming back on midway through January following this surgery. Now rumours coming round, and actually more than rumours because Pep Guardiola confirmed it, that he's actually going to be back sooner than January. He's already running. I guess he'll be in solo training, maybe back end of this week, maybe next week, and then maybe first team training beginning of November. What's your sort of view on bringing Kevin De Bruyne back earlier? Because for me, while obviously I'm buzzing that he's back earlier than January, I'm also mega concerned that are we going down the same trap as we did at the beginning of the season? Remember last year when Diaz got injured and he come back and he was on the bench for 2, 3, 4 weeks maybe before he eventually got back in. And I remember doing streams and everyone was like, why is Diaz not playing? Get Diaz back in the team. I don't know whether it was, but maybe Pep was just holding him back because he knew it was important. Even if Kevin De Bruyne is back, do you think we should hold him back for just a couple of weeks just as a precaution? Or would you sort of be getting him in the team as quickly as possible? What's your sort of take on that?
You've got to be cautious with De Bruyne. Like it's not his first. Because it was his hamstring that totally tore off, wasn't it? In the that was the issue, I believe. And that those injuries are more. Once you do it like once, it makes it more liable to happen again and again easier. And I appreciate he's had the surgery, but even if doctors say he's 100% ready to go now, err on the side of caution because there is no need to risk him. Like Alvarez is doing bits, Foden's doing bits in the midfield. I know that people talk about how we're not creating as much compared to last season, but it's from a long-term perspective, it's just not worth it. You've got to hold back. You've got to wait for him to be not just fully fit and then some. So whatever the doctor says, add on like, another 2-3 weeks or whatever. Let's be honest, we're not going to be in a position where we're like 10 points behind the top spot and we've got to rush him back. That's just not realistic. We might be, like 3 to 6 points off top spot or whatever by like January. I don't think we will, but as an example, there's no need to rush him. All it will do is make him more liable to an injury because he's now getting to the age where his body's going to be letting him down. And we've got to manage his minutes a bit more, I think.
I agree. I think now we need to have an honest conversation about Kevin De Bruyne. The guy's what, 32?
32, yeah.
And he'll be 33 in June. I think his birthday's in June. You've got to start thinking about, as you just said, managing his minutes. We can't spam him in every game, right? So I think now you've got to sit. Obviously, signing a new contracts apparently, according to Tolme, which is great news.
Yeah,
you got to have an honest conversation with him and say, we can play you in every game if you want, right? But you're going to get injured, then you'll miss big games, which is a problem. If we're playing teams like Luton at home, right, Sheffield United at home, these sort of games, we should have enough in the team with players like Foden, Alvarez, Doku, Grealish, Bernardo Silva, and obviously in the summer we'll probably sign another one, whether it be Paqueta or whoever, to get through those games. And then we'll save you. That doesn't mean he's never going to play those, by the way. That doesn't mean he's only going to play against the top 6. Obviously, that's not going to happen. He's still going to play. But we're going to manage his minutes. Some of the Champions League group games. You know what I mean? When was the last time we didn't top the group under Pep Guardiola? Exactly. Do we really need to be spamming him in every single match day 1, match day 2, match day 3? Do we really need to be doing that? Could we let other players take control? I mean, we win the league, right? You get the top seed anyway, so you're getting a pretty weak group, as evidenced over the last few years, because we've been getting weak groups because we've been winning the league so much. So I think you've just got to be really clever and really smart, but I think you've also got to have a proper honest conversation and say, you are not a player now, I don't think, that can play every 3 days for 90 minutes. You're just not. And if you want to think to yourself, no, he is, fine. But he'll keep on getting these injuries. And 2 months, 3 months recovery time will become 3 and 4 months recovery time. He'll be missing half a season for a standard hamstring. Why? Because that's what happens when your body gets older. It takes longer to recover. So you've got to be clever. Look at players like Ledley King. Guy never used to train. Guy had no cartilage or whatever in his knee. Couldn't train. He just turned up at the weekend and played. I'm not saying Kevin De Bruyne shouldn't train. I'm just saying you've got to be really clever now about how you manage him. Because if you manage him correctly, the reward for that is you could keep him for another 3-4 years if you manage him properly. But if you keep playing him as a core player for every game, mate, 2 years, 3 years, he'll be done. See ya.
Yeah, and it's not like we're lacking in that midfield area. Like Alvarez is doing bits this season. Foden, Nunes is going to get better as well. There's talk about us, potentially signing, a Toni Kroos or even Paqueta when the betting stuff potentially blows over. So it's not like we're going to be wanting for a player in that position anyway. So yeah, we've got to be sensible. Because De Bruyne could do a Modric and he could play until he's at 36, 37 at the highest level or whatever, but he won't do that if he's played every single minute of every single game, especially when it would make more sense to give a younger player minutes and rest De Bruyne. As you say, home against Sheffield United. No disrespect to Sheffield United, but does De Bruyne need to play that game? Why can't he just don't even pop him on the bench? Just give him an actual rest. So we've got to be clever, as you say.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a good show, mate. Thank you for coming on as always. Guys, you can find Nobbin's channel in the title of the YouTube. You can just click on it, subscribe, trying to help him towards 10,000 subscribers. Obviously, Tottenham's on tonight. I'm actually away this evening. I'm going away to York with my girlfriend, so I won't be doing a watch along for that. But hopefully, who are they playing? Fulham.
Fulham, yeah.
unlikely. But hopefully Fulham can do something there for us and City can stay top of the league. If you've enjoyed the stream, as always, guys, do me a massive favour. Help me out a little bit and hit that thumbs up button and make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well if you're new. I think we're pushing towards 9K now. Are we pushing towards that? Yeah, 8.629. So what? 300 and a bit off 9K. So make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I might do like a little pre-recorded video for later on, but I'm not 100% sure. Depends how much time I've got. If not, I will be live tomorrow. But yeah, listen, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll catch you in the next one. See you in a bit.